about the new world order. Not the kind that make you run for the border. It's a new religion wrapped in a revolution with a proven solution for your mental pollution. Cars and gold bars and chains and diamond rings. These are the symbols. We want the real things. Peace in the soul and the natural inside things that please the mind and make the body feel right. Don't let no one tell you that God ain't got a sense of humor. Somebody said he's pissed off, but that was just a rumor. I know he's laughing when the preacher starts to scream about how tripping is evil and sex is unclean. Nature wants your life to go on, long and strong, to have children and show them where you went wrong. So if your lifestyle leads you into hell or into prison, wake up and listen. This is what you're missing.
To begin briefly, how you sort of started this interactive CD and come up with it?
Well, I didn't. I was formerly not an interactive artist up until about a year and a half ago. I was just a more or less garden variety recording artist. And my contract with Warner Brothers kind of came up for renewal after 19 years. And it's a very long time, yeah, probably too long. And we decided sort of by mutual agreement that we weren't going to continue it because it had been so long and because I was interested in doing other things that perhaps they were not interested in. And most of those things involved new technologies that I've been working with, principally computers and interactive technologies, new interactive consumer devices. So we had a sort of amicable parting, and then I began the process of trying to figure out what it meant to be an interactive artist. It's an easy thing to say. It's a slightly more difficult thing to do in practice. So I spent some time studying what was happening in contemporary music and evaluating various delivery systems, computer systems and things like that, and eventually started to imagine the possibility of having music that was less like the kind of strict linear approach that appeared on most CDs, my own included, and involved more of a dynamic kind of reassembly of the musical ideas on a number of different levels to try and create something that was, let's say, greater than the sum of its parts.
The music is mixed to DAT and then is digitized into a computer using special hardware. In this case, a company called DigiDesign makes full CD quality digitizing, full DAT quality digitizing possible using an external box and a internal card, although this hardware is not the most up-to-date. They've consolidated that all into the machine. So essentially, after the mixing process is done, all of the rest of the work is done with the computer. I'm not going to show you the digitizing program now. It's a fairly technical process, but essentially it's equivalent to using a razor blade and cutting tape up into pieces of certain musical length, except that it's all done electronically, and the pieces are stored into files that reside on a hard disk. And this is an empty list in this program called Master List. What I can do is then go out to the database, and I can browse through all the various musical modules that have been saved on the disk. In the case of No World Order, the initial database is approximately 1,300 and some individual musical elements, only 350 of which appear in the final record. 1,300 bits obviously gives us a lot of combinations. One might say practically an infinite number of records. So what I can do now is I can browse through these bits using this dialogue. For instance, this is just a piece of one of the songs. Maybe a different one. Let's see what we have here. Wake up and face the animal in you, the frightened lizard that wants to win you, that wants the madness to continue, screwed into every sinew. Okay, we'll select that piece and put it in the list.
今このギターの鳴ってたピースを次に持ってきました。
and maybe one more piece, even from a different song.
Yeah.
And since I may discover that there are tempo or other kinds of differences between these songs, I built myself a little list of musical glue bits that I can put in between them. Okay, I've just built more or less a random list of little musical modules. Let's see what they sound like together.
でまず、作ったものを今とりあえず聞いてみましょう。
Wake up and face the animal in you, the frightened lizard that wants to win you, that wants the madness to continue, screwed into every sinew.
You may have noticed the little black spot moving down here that follows along the pieces as they play. You can see that each one of them has been given a sort of a code to identify it. This one is S3, which means from song 3, and B1 means the first bridge, and D2 means the second dynamic level, and another piece from song 3, and a piece from song 0, which essentially is my glue bits, and there's one from song 2. And maybe I'd like to even change the order they play in. So I just grab one and pull it down to the bottom and...
Wake up and face the animal in you, the frightened lizard that wants to win you, that wants the madness to continue, screwed into every sinew.
Etc. That was a random sampling. Obviously, there are more and less effective ways to put these ideas together, and that's where the artist comes in, particularly in these nonlinear versions. In a fully interactive system, such as a CDI player, which the system is now in development. This certainly isn't a home consumer demonstration, but in a CDI player, there will be someone taking my place, a little program, computer program, that will make intelligent choices about which musical bits fit together. Perhaps the code identifying the various pieces will be elaborated to include mood and tempo and key and various other subjective aspects that I may want to assign to them. And then the intelligence that resides inside the interactive device can make the most musical choices possible, given some random seed to work by. And looping around to the top of the dynamic vector stack.
同じ曲の同じピースですけれども、楽器の配順がどんどん変わってます。全く同じ曲の同じピースですね。
Next thing I'd like to demonstrate is moving, let us say, forward through a very with a very sort of linear approach. This, as a matter of fact, is more or less the order in which things appear in this particular song on the linear version of the record. And so we'll listen to what that sounds like, but sort of keep in mind that you haven't heard this song before, so you have no assumptions about what order the musical events should come in. listen to the same context of musical pieces, except instead of moving, let's say, conceptually from this point to this point, we're going to start at the end and move backwards. Now I'm going to demonstrate what happens when we more or less just jumble all the ideas up and play them at random and see whether they still maintain any kind of musical coherence from a different subjective standpoint. But from a purely musical standpoint, no hard and fast rules have been broken here. You may prefer to hear it one way or another way, but it works from a musical standpoint more or less equally well.
And do you have any plans? I mean, what is your further plan for the second interactive record? Do you have anything?
Well, it's in my mind, there's no such thing necessarily as the second record. You know, to me, once this process is started, what you have is a continually evolving context of musical ideas that incorporate new ideas and obsolete old ideas as it goes along. So this, again, is another interesting aspect that affects the non-interactive realm, and that is the idea that records and music become more like computer software, that you get updated versions, you get essentially upgrades. You know, this record that's coming out, No World Order, could be considered No World Order 1.0. And 4 months after that, we may have 1.1 come out, an upgrade. And this allows the music to be delivered in different ways as well. It's something more akin to subscribing to a magazine or buying a piece of computer software and sending in your registration card, and then you get upgrades that are either free or priced much lower than having to go out and buy another copy of the program. Well, I think that's far in the future. Right now, it's still very, there's a lot of volume. The data is very large. And the easiest way to get around is still on an optical disc. But in the future, when people's homes are wired up optically, then a lot of this stuff can be accessed directly online. And so the changes may not occur every 3 or 4 months. The changes may occur in terms of weeks or days, or even hours. You know, I may be working directly into the database. You know, in other words, there's this whole space of musical ideas, and then there's a little private area that I have there to sort of tinker with things. Yeah, that's my room that you can't come in until something's ready. And then as I'm satisfied with them, they go public, you know. And so people may be getting things that I've only just completed hours before. And that's when things really get exciting, you know, because then the idea of interactivity is to make the loop tighter and tighter, you know, to make the iterations come more quickly all the time. And I think that, you know, 5 years from now we'll start to see that as a possibility.